Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Loss of Lieutenant. I'm your host, Jacob, and I'm joined by...
Nick.
It's been a while. I've took a bit of a break, I guess. You and Josh held down the fort. How have you been?
Sick. So,
Yep.
hence why I haven't been doing any episodes recently.
Yep. Nick has been sick as a dog. He's regaled me with all of his ailments, and it sounded fucking awful. I guess then the next question with our general catch-up, I'm guessing that means that playing the hobby has taken a bit of a backseat for you.
I've got some games scheduled in for before BCB, but yeah, I have not touched any gaming table in a while.
I, on the other hand, have been, as I've said in previous episodes, I kind of want to try and podium at BCB, so I have been practicing getting lists ready, getting my ass handed to me, drawing and beating Torchlight Brigade. Fuck that goddamn Prime.
I don't know. You just brick the Prime. It seems easy enough, right?
It would if it wasn't BTS 9. Yeah, look.
Yes, I realize my interactions with Primes it may not be statistically normal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I won a decap by bricking a Prime, so it's not like it's impossible. And I'm playing Bakunin, so one of my potential answers is just go up and punch him in the face. Although that said, I did actually have a Prime. Sorry?
That works for a lot of things.
Yeah, well, that said, I did have a Prime actually punch my Uberfowl in the face and kill it.
Statistically unlikely and very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I just rolled low. He rolled not high, actually crit. That's why it was so good.
Oh, okay, yeah, like that. That's how I've had a quasi creature kill an Uberfall. It crit. The Uberfall did not, and
yeah,
that was it.
It's always an annoying thing with Uberfall is they is when they roll low. Which, I mean, we're not going to get into it, but the new changes to combat, the close combat, and N5. I love the idea of low rolls being crits instead of high rolls. It's good.
Yeah,
but we're not here to talk about that. What are we here to talk about? We're here to do our BCB Pimp My List episode.
Yeah. So initially this was going to be one episode. However, scheduling issues have occurred, and so we're going to split this into two shorter episodes. Next one should hopefully be recorded about a little less than a week from now. So
yeah, shorter episodes.
Well,
these things always take forever.
Short for a Pimp My List episode.
Yeah, we have to say thank you for all of our listeners who submitted a list. It both obviously helps us do these episodes, which we love. We love to do, but also it's coming up to BCB. It's pretty brave to put your lists out there. So again, thank you to everybody who submitted. I think we've gotten at least to almost all of them. But we were inundated with lists that would just take too long to cover.
Yeah. So, I believe we have some challenges to cover.
Yep. So, as we announced last episode, 2 episodes ago, we are doing once again the Loss of Lieutenant Custom Mission Challenge for 2024. So the idea here is if you've got an idea for a mission, something you've always wanted to try and play out in Infinity, here's your chance to put pen to paper or put your fingers to the keys and produce that mission for everybody to play. We'd like you to submit 2 custom missions.
Up to 2 custom missions. If you only submit one, that's fine too.
Yeah. And if you submit 2, well, we'll love you forever. It counts as 1 submission. For the sake of randomly choosing a person at the very end of the quarter of the 3 months to win a small box of Infinity models. So this is pretty freaking exciting because the last time we did this, we got 2 missions. into the actual ITS, or like one mission
It's
split
about
into
1.5.
So
Last launch
last
went in,
launch,
and then
which was
the replacement for rescue
extraction.
heavily it uses a lot of inspiration from the half of last launch that they didn't use in last launch.
Yeah. So
that's it. So we'd have one scenario entry become 2 ITS scenarios.
Yeah. So if you want to get your name in that ITS document with a based on this mission by Lost Lieutenant Listener, there's a real chance that it'll happen.
Yeah. So
as
new stuff for this year with the competition. If you submitted an update or a custom mission last year, feel free to submit an update for that if you have one. I'll update that in the final document. Also, please let us know if you intend the mission to be competitive or narrative. Have already gotten some interesting narrative missions in there that have a completely different approach to just even building armies. It looks really fun to try. I'm looking forward to popping that out sometime after BCB.
Awesome.
Once the challenge ends, we'll format it, edit it, compile it into a single document, get it distributed to the wider Infinity community. That way, your ideas can get out there, and hopefully you can get some feedback from the wider community. And as a whole, we can get a nice, large database of interesting missions for that one where you don't quite know which one to put in the tournament for the 5th one, and pull in something that makes people have to think beyond the net list.
I mean, hell, BCB, Burn City Brawl, the first mission on the first day is a mission from our last custom mission challenge supply raid, which, the advantage of creating your own custom missions, you can do things like we have in supply raid, where it's not a lot of FO bonuses to doing objectives. So one of our listeners came up with supply raid. Its bonus is to forward observers. Thematically makes sense. Gameplay wise, it actually works really well because almost everyone has access to some sort of forward deploying forward observer. So yeah, if there's something you feel like there's missing in Infinity ITS missions, now's your chance.
So second part of the third quarter challenge for 24. If we're talking about custom missions, what would they be without some playtesting? So we'd also like to hear about your experiences playing custom missions. What interesting mechanics did you like? What interesting mechanics did you break? Let us know. Submit your results or your entries to lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. And one random winner, as Jacob already mentioned, will be selected from each category at the end of the quarter.
Awesome.
Have some events coming up too.
Yes, we do.
So first up, as we mentioned, and as this episode targets, we have Burn City Brawl coming up in, as a date of recording, not release of the episode, just over 2 weeks. That'll be held 7th and 8th of September in Melbourne, Victoria, at the gaming arena. 300 points. I'll skip the rest of it because we'll go over the whole mission lineup in the episode. See the Facebook page for more details. Still room for last-minute signups.
Yep, I think the last update we got was 47.
Yes, we're hovering just under the 50 mark. So
yeah,
if you haven't signed up, or if you want to randomly show up into town for it, that would be awesome.
Come on, guys! The prize you did for the 40 thing, like right when you take a look at the pictures of the wheel, I was one spot off, just a little bit further, and I would have gotten that bloody Samsa, I think her name is. So come on, let's make Kev give out one more prize.
Yeah. So next up for the events, we have the Hapsburg Havoc Prelude. Bid farewell to N4 with a 2-day tournament in Vienna, Austria, a country of which, according to the host, has a, quote, regrettable lack of marsupials. This will be the 14th and 15th of September in Vienna, Austria. 5 rounds across 2 days. Lineup is the Armory, Mind Wipe, Resilience Op, Frontline, and Decapitation. And more information can be found at the Hapsburg Havoc ITS event page, and we'll also should have a link in the show notes to that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm interested in seeing that Resilience Ops pop up in the middle of the tournament. That should be interesting. That's going to skew some list creations there.
Oh, yeah, especially because Resilience doesn't need any specialists, and so
it's a very different type of list you want for those. So I'm keen to hear what happens with this tournament and how it turns out with that stuck in the middle of a 5-round tournament.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I really like that. So as you see, this is an international event. So if you have an event coming up and you want to promote it on Loss of Lieutenant, we're more than happy to do that for you. Just send us an email with details, date, location / venue, points, missions, right? A Facebook link. That's all we need, and we will try and drum up some interest in your tournament, no matter where it is in the world.
Yeah, we'll do our best to get it in. And, as long as you give us enough leeway time, get it out in the episodes and spread the word.
Give us about 3 weeks would be pushing it. All right, try and give us a month.
Okay. So we have part 1 of Pimp My List BCB 24.
Oh, I love doing these episodes. They're so much fun.
Should start with real quick look at the mission lineup. I know we did a whole spotlight episode on those, but we'll just walk through them real quick. First up, we have Supply Raid, which is one of the Loss of Lieutenant custom missions from last year. Highly Classified, Decapitation, Looting and Sabotaging, which I have misspelled there as just Sabotage. And
I think it is
Supremacy.
Looting and Sabotage.
Oh.
I think you got it right.
Oh, okay.
Too hard on
I
yourself.
get confused between the two. Anyhow, all those are normally available, but if you go to the next slide, do a quick refresher on Supply Raid, since that's the custom mission. In Supply Raid, there are 9 tech coffins put up in a 3x3 grid in the middle of the board. The objectives are to secure more supply boxes, 1 point each up to 6. Secure more supply boxes than your opponent for 1 point. Destroy more tech coffins for 1 point, and 2 classified objectives to give you 2 more OP up to 10. Securing supply boxes, you can go about that in 2 ways. Either activate the tech coffin with a forward observer bonus, and that basically starts a timer on the box. If it is still activated at the start of your next turn, then it launches, and the supply box inside of it is now secured by you off the board. So it is banked, and you can't have it taken away. The second way is to destroy the tech coffins. Any tech coffin that has been activated by your opponent or locked by the EI during turn 3 can be destroyed by damaging it with anti-material close combat weapons. After you destroy it, the supply box pops out, and at that point, you've got the physical supply box, and as long as you can hold on to it until the end of the game, it's yours.
So it's the same rules for beacons, I think.
It becomes supplies, basically, at that point.
Yeah, beacons have like a general rule set.
Yeah.
Of how you can. So it's just a counter that you carry along with you. It has to be base contact.
So, as I alluded to, at the start of turn 3, any boxes that aren't, or any tech coffins that aren't activated by either player, lock, and that not only means you can only interact with them by destroying them, but it also activates their automated defense system. So zappy on 8s. Forward observer bonus for this mission, which is nice to see. I think it has definitely affected some of at least my opinions on this for this. We've also added for ITS 15 a Quasi Creature and the Hazmat Ops. The Quasi Creature adds a nice little extra layer of strategy in how you can try to block off areas of the board and prevent a early top of one Zerg rush with 4 deploying specialists. And then the hazmat ops makes sure that everyone has at least one model with access to decharges.
Yeah, so get that all important anti-material weapon.
Yes. Yeah.
Should also be noted for any of those tag aficionados out there that this also has armored fury,
Yes.
which means
Good
any
point.
melee attack from a tag counts as being, among everything else, it counts as being anti-material.
Yes.
So it's
During
same rule that happens that it's in leading and sabotage. I think
Yeah.
I think that also has armored fury.
Yeah, good rule to remember. During our previous precursor tournament, the Road to BCB, that actually came up. There was a player there who his opponent sniped out all of his anti-material, and then we walked through the mission again with them because they were still new with it, and noted armored fury, and he still had tag. And his opponent didn't have much to do with the tag against the tag, so tag went over and started punching boxes.
Yeah. The other thing it's not so important with hazmat ops. I was going to say hazmat ops gives you terrain 0G, but that's more important in some of the other missions where you've got the quantum anomaly zones.
Yeah. ITS 15 hazmat ops is more, here's some free decharges in case you don't have easy access to them in list building.
Yeah, it's like free decharges, and you can move through the quantum zone without having to stop if you can make it through.
Correct. You still take damage though, which kind of
No, I was like, if you
Correct.
don't start touching it and have enough distance to get through,
Yeah.
you can not take that damage.
Nice. I think we've got
Yeah.
the way it turned out. I didn't reorganize them. The list that you went over first, and then can go over the list I went over. So
let's do it.
Have at. Who'd you get first?
So I got a submission from Dante, one of our Melbourne locals, playing Tunguska. He is playing. He's playing Tunguska. I don't know why. I thought I needed to say that twice. I've played him a couple of times. We have gotten intimate with each other's lists to the point where he knows the BTS of Brando better than I do, because I think we've had his Grenzer shoot Brando with a breaker pistol at least 3 or 4 times in the lead up to BCB. So this first list that he's submitted, he sort of plans to use for supply raid, highly classified, and looting sabotage. It consists of, in group 1, a Heckler with a Jammer and Fast Panda, and then a Grenzer with marksmanship and a multi-sniper rifle, a Securitate with a heavy machine gun, a Securitate Hacker with a combi rifle, a Securitate Paramedic, Perseus FTO, 2 Zellenkriegers, which has been huge for Tunguska, the addition of those smoke-throwing warbands, an Interventor Lieutenant with Hacking Device Plus, a Zonnaut with a Hacking Zonnaut, and then in Group 2 he has another Grenzer with Marksmanship, Fiddler FTO, so just a wildcard Fiddler, and a Cheer Killer, so that makes up a Harris, a Cheer Killer Harris. Then Denmark Connolly and a Warcore with 360 Visor. Just going back to Group 1, I think the idea was the Grenzer, the 3 Securitate, and Perseus are in a impure 5-man core.
Yeah. And minor note, the 2 Zellenkriegers, one has a Pulsar and smoke grenades, and the other one has a light shotgun and smoke grenades.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Which because it kind of mixes up what one has armor save and one does BTS save. So
true. And I should have probably addressed that. I'll address that because I didn't change it, but I should have. Anyway, we'll go on to what I changed on it.
Sorry, I had them organized as the 2 lists and the 2 lists, but feel free to.
That's right.
Yeah.
well, flick around.
Yeah.
So I've changed this list a little bit, mainly because of using it for supply rate and using it for looting and sabotage sort of defensively, as well as I think it said decapitation.
Supply raid, highly classified, and looting and sabotage.
Okay, yeah, highly classified and looting and sabotage. So the idea is that we need to have as many specialists as we possibly can. So ideally, we're looking at having ideally looking having at least one doctor or paramedic, at least one engineer, at least one forward observer, and at least one hacker. Which luckily is not too hard in Tunguska. We also want some medium infantry, some heavy infantry, or medium infantry or heavy infantry, and we want that elite or veteran or character profiles. So I've kept the Grenzer. So I'll go through the list. Right, what my list is a Grenzer with marksmanship and the multi-sniper rifle, the new-ish Kulak Revenge unit with a heavy rocket launcher and a pulsar 1+1 burst. Then so that replaces the Securitate heavy machine gun. Securitate hacker, Securitate paramedic, another Securitate, the Interventor hacking device plus, the 2 Zellenkriegers, Den McConnelly, and a heckler in group 1, and then in group 2 is a puppet master with a AP marksman rifle puppet bot, and a forward observer puppet bot, and then a Harris of a Stempler, FTO, a Grenzer, and Fiddler FTO, and then a Warcore 360 visor. So the main changes I made is I got rid of Perseus, because for the most part he's sort of potentially like tied down in that link.
Yes. Yeah, he usually wants to be a bit more mobile. And that link is not.
Yeah. Now you've still got plenty of DA and smoke in Denmark and the Zellenkriegers. Ultimately, Tunguska sort of have a lack of Malay warband, sort of the Hippolyta orientated unit. So I can understand why Perseus is there. Maybe it's like sort of more tuned to having a 4-man core and Perseus running around, like sort of depending on the whether he's going first or whether he's going second. Sort of like buff it up if he's going second, or run Perseus and run Perseus solo if he's going first. So I get that, but you've already got a lot there in Denmark and the 2 Zellenkriegers. Plus you've got hazard ops that you can give to something else. Also to note that Fiddler has D-charges. There's actually no slouch in close combat with, I think she's got an extra burst in close combat.
+1 burst close combat with D-charges. She will mist an objective pretty quickly.
And I don't think her
has to reload, but
and her stat on CC 18 is not too bad. But you could always give something else like that, maybe even just like the Heckler D-charges, right? Because he's got the camo forward observing.
So with his initial list, he also has the option of putting the Interventor into that link instead of Perseus.
Yes.
So that could be an alternative deployment if he feels he needs Perseus up front versus if he wants Perseus held back to defend the link.
Yeah. What I've tried to do in this one is lean into the supply raids FO bonus. So the puppet bot is the puppet bot FO is this tiny S1 6'4" moving forward observer that with those 4 orders, plus maybe like an O12 procedure just converting the war cause order, can very easily be put on your deployment line if you're going first, and with those orders run all the way across your line and activate each one of your consoles. Because one of the strongest things I think you can do in that you can do in supply raid is get your 3 boxes activated first turn. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and even whip 14. So
Yeah. So you 2
that's
dice and 17s. You're not gonna.
um,
You're rarely gonna fail that
okay.
roll.
So you just need to worry about terrain in between, since it has, other than 6-4 movement, it doesn't have anything to go up over. It just has to go around.
Yeah, but again, you got 6-4 movements.
Right.
So
Yes.
you've
Again,
got that
6-4
anyway,
gets you
so.
very 6-4 will get you a lot around a lot of obstacles.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right.
okay.
Then afterwards, you can use that to push into the middle. I've then in that group also have the Grenzer, Fiddler, and the Stempler together. A, because if you need to do something for highly classified. So like when we swap to highly classified, you may not need the puppet bot so much. You need the that Harris to move out to do Fiddler stuff or to do the I don't know, something with the Stempler, I suppose. You can then move that link out. I think the Grenzer's medium infantry, so maybe it's some medium infantry stuff there.
Well, even at that, the Stempler's also an FO.
Yes, and that's the other thing I tried to put into this list is some redundancy. Is that you've got the FO puppet bot, which if it dies, you don't lose that order. It's only when the puppet master itself dies. So you can be risky with that unit. It's quick. It's going to get orders done. Right, you just run it forward. Right, if needs be. You've then got to back up Harris. Now, I can see the argument for maybe putting the swapping the puppet master and the heckler. Right, given that the puppet.
I think I think I like that because then it puts the Stempler and the puppet bots in separate groups. And if for some reason you go first and your opponent null deploys, which is a death sentence going into supply raid, you could potentially run the puppet bot up to hit the 3 middle ones and take the Zond or the Stempler Zond and hit the 3 close ones.
Yeah, exactly.
And the FO bots, their whip isn't super, but when you give them an FO bonus to activate, they can do the same thing you were talking about with the puppet forward observer and just ding ding ding, knock all 3 of them, and then
flip
at your opponent and
so they're
say,
smarter than Fusiliers.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, I guess it's depends on the faction you're coming from.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't quite organize these groups. Well, it's more that like I left the organizing the groups sort of up to like, do you want it to be tweaked a little bit more for looting sabotage, right? Where you've got the orders for Denmark and the Zellenkriegers, or did you want to leave it for the FOs? So you can do some swapping. But the good thing about the Puppet Master is you can swap that entire like what looks like 3 guys with 1 heckler, and suddenly you've got you've got the heckler and the heckler who can do maybe some things, but you might not need to do too much with them. And the puppet bot suddenly got an entire group of orders. The other big difference I made was changing out the Securite SMG for the Kulat. The Kulat is a better shot. I think it's almost about I think it's 1 point more. And I think the biggest thing is that you've got to think about if this is sort of an ARO like bunkering core, is you've got to consider the result of a success. So a HMG is just a bullet, right? It doesn't have anything else to it. Whereas the rocket gets rid of cover, has continuous damage. The Kulak itself has MSV, not MSV, sorry, it has mimetism.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a tougher piece to get rid of than a Securitate is, and I think it's 1 point more than the Securitate HMG.
There's also one thing in here that in my list building for these, I have been more attentive to than in the past, and that's the multi-pistol.
Yes,
The
that
multi-pistol
was
has
another.
DA rounds in close combat. That makes it anti-material close combat. So
That's true.
that Kulak is a backup anti-material weapon.
Yeah. Now,
And
this
if
is
you've still got your most of your link together and drag them up, that multi-pistol can become burst 4, burst 5, and just demolish anything they get to.
But yeah, so that's the thing, is that the Kulak you can put for looting a sabotage right on that box, and it has. I think I suppose technically, it doesn't have a single range where it can't effectively hit something, if you count the pulsar being able to hit well at 8 to 0, because it's 10 inches ish long.
Well, it's got a multi-pistol for 8 to 0.
Oh, sorry, 8 to 16. Sorry.
Okay.
Because that's the 0 range band for the missile launch, rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Now that's only possible because I got rid of the Zonautica. I think with the Interventor, the Heckler, and the Stempler, you've got enough ability to put out repeaters to do things like spotlight, spotlight a unit, spotlight something. And the only thing that you might struggle with is if you get data scan. But I find, especially because one way or another, you're going to have your hacker go towards that unit that you're going to data scan. You can't do it through the repeaters. For the Tungus, it's
No,
probably going to be
depending on your opponent, sometimes they come to you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it's probably like a last turn thing where some bits are a little bit closer to you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Worst case, also you've got Hacking Device Plus there. You've got 3 Impetuous Smoke. You've got Fast Pandas. You could pretty efficiently set up a Eclipse equivalent.
Yeah, you could.
And like it's not as efficient as Eclipse, but you've got 3 Impetuous Smoke. The Heckler can get Fast Pandas out there, and off that the Interventor can put out White Noise. You've got the pretty efficient way to block off line of fire pretty much anywhere you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's a slight issue with the fact that the Grenzers have MSV. But yeah, no, like the Kurlak can shoot through that. Your Stempler could. Your Puppet Box.
Oh, I'm talking about doubling up.
Could.
If you just want to get up there and do an objective, it doesn't matter if you can't see them. You just care that they can't see you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So.
There is like a few points there. However, yeah, I was gonna say maybe you could take a look at upgrading the other Puppet Bot up to the Red Fury, but you'd have to find one SWC.
That's the band that's in that list.
Which again, a lot of what I've done is only possible because I got rid of the Zonautica.
So what's list 2 look like?
Okay, so list 2 from Dante is for Decapitation, Supremacy, and matchups that need
Guided Missile.
Guided Missile. The Guided Missile launcher. Tunguska being probably premier hacking faction or sub-faction in Infinity. You go up against them, you're gonna take a look at fighting a missile launcher, like a guided missile launcher. So the way that he's put this list together is Group 1 has a Grenzer marksmanship Hollow-Man and Stemplazond FTO in a Harris, a Vertigozond, which is the missile launcher bot, an Interventor Killer Hacker, which, for anyone who doesn't know, the Interventor has an upgrade to their Trinity, which is -3, which makes their Trinity +3 to them, -3 to your opponent. It's fucking gross. It then has a Salute with deactivated repeater, so that's just your basic badge, S4 baggage bot, which is more than likely there to reload pitches or more than likely fast pandas. Yeah. In Group 2, we have an Interventor, 2 Zellenkriegers, a Heckler, a Grenzer Marksmanship, a Rounder, Securitate Hacker, Securitate Paramedic, and a Securitate Repeater. I mean, I've liked all of Dante's lists. So, but in this one, I sort of changed, I guess, because of that decapitation, sort of changed the attack vector, I guess. So if you take a look at what I put together for his list too, is what I've done is I can go through the list. So here's Group 1 is a Vertigozond, which is again the missile launcher, the Interventor Killer Hacker, the Salute, the Meteorzond, and 1 Zellenkrieger. And in Group 2, it is Mary Problems, and the Interventor with Hacking Device Plus, which is the Lieutenant, the other Zellenkrieger, a Heckler, a Cyclone Rem, the Grenzer Rounder, Securitate Hacker, Securitate Paramedic, and then just a normal Securitate. So it's a sort of a downgrade from the one with a repeater.
Okay, so you've dropped him down to just 1 Grenzer multi-sniper, but you've got the Tuscalon Feuerbach in there for some added to take the place of that range.
I mean, that one still has the marksmanship in it. I'll get to the idea of this list now. So I wanted to keep the idea that this is for decap. It's Tunguska. You're still gonna have to have. You're still gonna have to have a hacker to spotlight something through a repeater. Sorry, you're gonna have repeaters for the hacker to spotlight something through it to give guided to those missile launchers. So we've still got as much, if not more, possible repeater coverage in this list.
Oh, especially with the Meteorzond.
Yep. The reason I've put the Cyclone in there is because you get that burst 2. You get the burst 2 pitches with +1 BS. Put it near the Salute, and you just keep reloading it until you get the pitches out that you need. In one of the games that I played with Dante mentioned about how good the Meteorzond is for dropping in on lieutenants, especially camouflage lieutenants, because the Meteorzond is just a combat deploying, parachuting forward observer bot. So it still has a sensor, it still has a repeater, triangulated fire and all that. I think it has triangulated fire. Right, main difference is that it can have a boarding shotgun instead of the combi rifle. It can still have the combi rifle.
It's a full FO bot.
Shotgun. Yeah. It just happens to have parachutists and all that. The idea of this list is to give to really buff up that hacking net that he can have, but also to give him some extra avenues of attack. So instead of having to take the Hollow Man, the Grenzer, and the Stempler and sort of run across the board, get to a nice place, fire the pitcher, in which case if the table doesn't suit, you're now out of orders to fire your Vertigozond. You've now got the Cyclone, which is going to be shooting at BS-13s, whatever the minuses are. I think they've also got an X-Visor, don't they?
They've got an X-Visor as well. The X-Visor Feuerbach is, I think it's basically flat with a bump in the HMG range band of +3.
Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, so you got that, and then lost my place now. Yeah, so you got the meteors on that can come down near a lieutenant, put down that repeater network. Does it have? It could. You could give it super jump if you took the FTO one, which is just one extra point. In which case it could really get into some annoying places.
Well, really, you're
Um,
talking about for decap. You're trying to get uh, pardon, right, a combat drop repeater next to the lieutenant, and if they have a camo lieutenant, it can just censor it off. And now suddenly their lieutenant is open to hacking and missiles.
yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah, not a bad
the other,
strategy.
the other idea is mirror problems.
Mhm.
Like I think as far as like hacking and what she can do, um, it's really good. She's a bit obviously difficult to use um, if you're going second, but if you manage to go first, she could be a real problem, especially if she gets her cyber mask on, gets to just some way close to where she can be a problem set up for turn two, or she's just a great killer hacker. So if you take a hacking lieutenant and for some reason he can't do it with his intervented killer hacker, well, Mary Problems is there.
Is there a
Also,
reason to have both Mary? So it almost seems like Interventor Killer Hacker plus Mary Problems plus Interventor KH or Hacking Device Plus and Securitate Hacking Device might be. I know it's Tunguska, more hacking than you need because the
you know what?
Interventor KHD has already got an upgraded Trinity. Mary Problems has an upgraded Trinity. Um, is it worth taking both of them?
You honestly might not. You might have something there. This is probably leaning a bit too much into the hacker
Mhm.
area. In which case, find something to do with the 28 points with mirror problems.
Uh, Actually, I'd see probably I'd want to drop the Interventor KHD first.
Intervenient
And
KHD is so invincible to enemy hacking, though. It can do like you put enough like a nasty enough hacking net down, and it just
Mhm.
you can't do anything. Like BTS 9 with that Trinity
Mhm.
through one of its repeaters is BTS 12. It's practically
Okay,
invincible.
fair. Yeah,
I
I
think
can see that argument. Plus, Mary Problems, there's enough overlap to cover the regular hacking from the other interventor and the Securitate hacker. So, okay, I could see the argument for dropping her first.
yeah. But yeah, I'm looking. You could probably put in Zon. I don't know. She's half an SWC.
And she's not linked, so that
Well, she
you don't have
is.
to worry about filling a spot in there. You've got
Yeah,
28 points to play with as you see fit.
yeah. The other thing is we've got a redundant Securitate there. You can make that. You could try and jiggle the points around to make it a clockmaker, so that you can have something to repair the Cyclone. Unfortunately, Tunguska can't link their clockmakers like Bakunin can.
Mhm.
But yeah, you could have him there next to the Cyclone to keep him up. Reduce the points of
Mhm.
mirror problems to just like a FI bot or something like that. Not an
Mhm.
FI bot, a flash cross bot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of my idea of like the idea being sort of you try and drop the meteor. If that doesn't work, you got mirror problems to put down. If that doesn't work, then you're gonna look at you know
Yeah.
then you've still got the ability to just put down an ungodly number of repeaters with a really strong ARO presence with the heckler and the rounder. Sorry, the heckler and the rounder, the Grenzer and the Cyclone. Yeah, there you go, Dante. I have officially pimped your list.
Excellent. So, what was the next one you did?
Oh, we're just gonna go burn straight through mine. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's do one of yours.
Okay. Which one do you want to do
Oh wait.
first? Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh wait.
That case,
Did I put this one together?
I thought you did, and I wasn't sure because no one tagged it. So, if you didn't, we can
No, I did.
just.
I did.
Okay.
I did do this one.
Okay.
Okay. So Dante also asked us to take a look at his dad Svalheimer's Winterforce list. So again, going through his list, it's is Group 1 is a Beast Hunter, surprise attack -3, camouflage forward deployment 8+8 inches with a flamethrower, Panzerfaust, and AP mines, which I think is practically the same for all of
It's one of the
theirs.
standard profiles.
Yeah. Then it's a Kahu Feuerback +1 burst with AP mines, a Fusilier paramedic, Fusilier lieutenant, and another Fusilier. Liang Kai, a Fugazi drone bot, a Nice with heavy machine gun, a Nice with multi-sniper rifle, a machinist Winter Force, which is the one that has mimetism -3 and terrain total. So that's a Kahu in a Fusilier 4-man core, and then a Nice Paris.
Mhm.
And then in the Group 2, we have a Kahu Feuerback +1 burst, a Kahu paramedic with multi-rifle blitz and AP mine, Sherna Carano with a submachine gun and a pulsar +1 burst and a flash pulse, and then 2 more Fugazi drone bots.
Okay.
So Dante's dad's sort of going in with like a all-comers list. So he's got the engineer, he's got the paramedic. I think he's missing a hacker. And then I don't think he has a forward observer at the moment, which is probably
Not
a
having
bit.
hacker or forward observer
It's
is
a lot. It's
rough
a lot.
because
Yeah,
they
it's a lot.
overlap quite a bit.
Yeah, because that's forward observing things, data scan, mapping.
Mhm.
I think it's a quarter of all of the possible classifieds. So yeah, as Dante said, that's his main concern is the lack of hackers, the lack of the ability to do those sorts of lists. Now,
Okay.
I'm no expert at Pando, but I thought, fuck it, I'll give it a crack. This is for you, Dante. So the first thing that I did was I took a look at the Fusilier link, and I just went for a pure Fusilier. Fusilier link.
Mhm.
The reason I did this is I have fought pure Fusilier links before. I should say, when I say pure Fusilier link, that is a Fusilier combi rifle, Fusilier missile launcher, Fusilier paramedic, Fusilier lieutenant, and then just another basic ass Fusilier.
Yeah.
That Fusilier
You swapped
missile
the
launcher,
Karhu Feuerbach for a missile launcher.
yeah, that Feuerback missile launcher has caused me no ends of problems, right? In a pure team, it's BS15, right?
Yep.
There's a pain in the ass to get rid of. It is one of the cheapest and most oppressive pieces that I've just ever had to deal with.
Mhm.
I've kept the Beast Hunter because it had points left over, slightly upgraded it. So it has a flamethrower +1 burst.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. I got the Nisei link. I kept the sniper rifle because I think the sniper rifle is great because you burst 2, you get to pick DA, AP, or shock ammunition. Again, I like HMGs in the active turn as an ARO piece. They can be a little bit weedy when they don't have that extra ammo. It's just that the consequence of like a heavy infantry guy failing his armor save, not failing his armor save, failing his to succeed at the face to face is sort of mitigated by the fact that you're just taking, one, a maximum 2 hits, without crits. Whereas if you succeed with both shots on the NIS with a sniper rifle, and you say DA ammo, that's 4 armor saves.
Yep.
Or if it's like a Yotam and you're like, oh, I'm going to do AP, that technically means your sniper rifle's damage 20.
Yes.
Right. So instead, I've got the NIS paramedic. So it means if your sniper goes down, you can get it back up. Kept the machinist. I think that's a brilliant idea. Brings down the cost of the link. You got your engineer. What I've done is I've taken those points and I've put it into group 5, where we still have the Kahu Feuerback +1 burst. We still have the Kahu paramedic, but then what we have is a Knight of Justice hacker.
Mhm.
Now there are a couple of profiles in the game that are very similar to the Knight of Justice hacker, in the fact that it can do like 75% of the objective deck. Right? It's a hacker, so it can do all the forward observing and all the hacking classifieds. It's heavy infantry, so it can do all the heavy infantry ones. I bet my bottom dollar it's probably a veteran or elite.
It's elite.
There you go. So it can do all of them. It has D-charges, so it could do sabotage. The only thing it can't do is probably like the newer ones. We have to do like whip check on like light infantry or a REM.
Well, it can't do the like healing stuff, the visor stuff, or sensor stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the sense, so there's a couple it can't do, but you get about 75% of the deck in that one dude.
Yeah.
Right. Its stats are pretty good. It's also got that DA weapon and D charges, so you've got looting and sabotage covered by them. You've got the smashing boxes later on in, well, actually, first up in supply charges, supply raid.
Yeah.
So that's the piece that when you're sort of struggling to find something is what you're looking for. It's a bit sad that it only has a combi rifle, but the good thing about the Knights of Justice is you can just sort of stick it into people's face. Because it does have a heavy pistol, does have DA weapons, has a decent amount of martial arts.
CC23 martial arts too. That's great against anyone who doesn't know hand to hand.
Yeah, exactly. And Armor 5 BTS 9 with stealth on a hacker is awesome, because it means that if you can walk him very safely through that Tunguska hacking net, right, and once you're out of it, then you can start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I don't know if the Kahu have stealth. Do they have stealth? They don't, but it doesn't matter. Because the hacker can only react to them. He can't hear the Knight of Justice.
Yeah.
So there you go. That Dante and your dad is how I think you could sort of elevate that list to make sure that you don't suffer when it comes to having to complete objectives or anything like that. Is put that Knight of Justice somewhere. The only thing I potentially suggest would be to swap the Nisei and the Kahu Harrises around. In terms of where the groups are, because I get the feeling more than likely that Knight of Justice is going to do a lot of work and will just need the orders.
Is there any way to find one more point to turn one of the extra Fusiliers into a Fusilier forward observer?
I don't.
Beast Hunter. If you remove the +1 burst on the Beast Hunter, you can make one of the 2 decoy Fusiliers into a Fusilier forward observer.
Yeah, I think
that would give a bit more utility there.
I think that's why I didn't do it, because I wanted it to be there as a decoy for decapitation. Noting that
you've got 2 decoys. You've got Lieutenant and then 2 regular Fusiliers with combi rifles.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay.
Hey man, I run 4 moderators for my decoys.
Okay. Well, you'll see how my under reliance on decoys will turn out soon. Oh yes, and actually, another good point from the chat. Decoys don't work in decap. because they know exactly which one it is.
No, but this is an all-comers list, so
True.
um,
Yeah.
it's the idea is that it's a decoy for when he uses it for other ones where you don't have to reveal
Mhm.
the lieutenant.
Yeah. So who was your next?
It was yes, Josh, who submitted some steel phalanx lists.
Some
So
greatly named steel phalanx lists as well.
yes. So we didn't get a description of, I suppose, a use case for these, but he's titled them so well, it's like a scientific report. I know exactly what he's going for. So the first one, entitled Oiled Up Greek Missiles, has in Group 1, Machion, Uteros, Phoenix, Pandora, in I think a 4-man core, Harris,
Mhm.
whatever. Then you have Cilia, which is the not recently released, remodeled hacker with drone bots that have repeaters on them. But she has a Evo hacker with Trinity +2 damage, and the Evo bot, the Diva bot, just has a flamethrower and a repeater. Then Nitrod, 2 flash pulse bots, and Ectomoy hacker.
Mhm.
So the Ectomoy is the Steel Phalanx's combat drop parachute unit, pretty much like a Myrmidon on wings.
Mhm.
Then Group 5 is the Thaneketh bot, which is the missile launcher bot.
Missile bot.
Yeah, the TR HMG bot, a Thrakatite forward observer, another Netrod, a Dactyl engineer with deactivator, and a Yard bot. Right. The idea obviously being that the Dactyl is off to the side, Yard bot
Yeah.
stays near
Yeah.
probably the TR bot.
Engineer to keep
Oh
the
yeah,
HMG TR bot up, and then it can also go up there and do objectives later on.
yeah, and it is a. I should mention it's a combi rifle adhesive launcher with D charges because I think there's 2
Okay.
profiles for the Dactyls as far as like an engineer goes, and then there's the Doctor one.
Mhm.
So I knew that when I was going to pick this list, got to keep the theme of missiles, targeting, and hacking, which is not super easy for Steel Phalanx to do. It's one of the things that they kind of lack. They sort of suffer from ALFs that have the best of everything, but nothing really to, like the single best of everything, but nothing really to support them.
Mhm.
So they've got, I mean, Steel Phalanx doesn't really have great
Yeah.
hackers, but
Switch a
they've got
change.
like good units, but they're just not quite there to do that net. If we go here, so this is my oiled up Greek missiles list. So going back through it, we've got Machion, Akmon. Sorry, in Group 1, we've got Machion, who's the lieutenant, Akmon, Phoenix, and Pandora. I'll go through why I made that change in a second. Got the Netrod. Then we got the, uh, fuck me, these are Greek names. Thyros, Killer Hacker,
Mhm.
with boarding shotgun decharges EM mines, a flash pulse bot, a pro bot, we still have the Ectomoy hacker, and then we have a Warcore 360 visor.
Mhm.
In Group 5, we have lost the TR bot for a Mahi missile launcher,
Mhm.
a basic Thrakatite, the Thrakatite forward observer, and we've kept the Dactyl engineer. And of course, this is a missile bot list, so the very last unit is the missile bot. Now, I checked this specifically. I want to double check it because I'm being paranoid. And yes, cool. Just wanted to make sure. So, 2 big changes here is to the 4-man group with Akmon, including Akmon, sorry, with Machion, including Machion, Uteros, and Phoenix all in one group. I felt was too many eggs in one basket. You've
Mhm.
got Akmon, who's a great specialist, good lieutenant in Whip 15 and all that sort of thing. He's got the Eclipse grenades for you to use to block
Mhm.
anything with MSV. You've then got Phoenix, who has all the bonuses of being a Myrmidon, but has a heavy rocket launcher, and he has the normal smoke, which is good in this case because the Mackie can see through that smoke.
Mhm.
If you want to do that. Uteros, then adding Uteros to that link, don't feel like added a whole lot. He's a specialist, but so is Akmon. The only difference being that Akmon can complete. Sorry, not Akmon.
Machion?
Well, yeah, Akmon, but Machion. They're both. He's a specialist, but he can't do any classifieds. Like classifieds related to being a specialist. His gun is nice in a Mark 12, but I think a heavy rocket launcher is better. And as far as melee goes, I think he's slightly better than Machion or Phoenix, but only by a little bit. I think 1 point more than the other two. And ultimately, Infinity is a shooting game, and I think that Phoenix is a better shot.
Okay.
Or at least has a better weapon to fire. So that's why I've done. That's why I've changed that. The other change when I got rid of the Satan, the HMG bot for this link is again about the sort of consequence is a Mackie put all the way back in a 4-man core is firing at is at least has surprise shot, it has mimetism, it has MSV1. It's great for if you're playing a mission where you've got a bunch of war bands, and that MSV means that I'm going to be able to shoot through that smoke every single time. I'm going to be firing two missile launches at you, and if I hit you, it could end really badly for you. It only takes one low roll or a miss, but that missile just goes straight in and take out a really important piece.
Well, it keeps the smoke warbands honest.
Yeah, exactly. And that link itself doesn't really need to move. So I've put the dactyl can be in a Thurakatai link. So you can still keep that dactyl next to the missile bot. It's to the missile bot, if it goes down for whatever reason, if you need to pop it up to do some A or O duty.
Well, the missile bot also requires less babysitting from an engineer than a TR bot does.
Yeah,
TR bot
exactly.
is going to be engaging the opponent, and it's going to go down eventually, often sooner than later. Missile bot just stays prone until you need to do it otherwise. So, yeah,
now,
happy to have the dactyl just within 1 to 2 order move of the missile bot.
Yeah, and if you can find a point to shimmy around, you could probably change the forward observer to be paramedic. So if the Mackie goes down, doesn't die, you can try and resurrect it. The last change I sort of made was to put in the Thyros Killer Hacker, kind of add some anti-hacking in there. I actually took a look at the idea of like putting him in there as like sort of this forward deploying like anti-hacker sort of dude. I think he's not so bad when you really need a midfield objective guy to be there.
Well, it adds some midfield specialist. He does have a marker state as long as you don't go or as long as you don't go second. Plus, he's also got decharges in there for the missions we need decharges for. And EM mines are a nice little thing to have up there in the midfield. Plus, you've got a probot not that far back to reload them if you really want to.
Yeah. Plus, he has, and you get to enjoy. He is not a bad sort of anti-Malay-ish sort of guy. He does have Natural Born Warrior and a CC attack -3. So he's good. You can, if you want, change him if you want to make it a little bit more geared away from the hacking and towards maybe like supply rate or something like that, you can change them with Thrasymedes, which is the Difos character, who does have an mimetism -6 instead of -3, infiltrating forward observer profile. Right, so you can change it out for him. You get 2 extra points. I mean, there you go. Easy enough. You make that change, and you can have that Thrakatai paramedic.
Given that you want to have it as a guided missile list, and you've got some repeaters out there in the remotes, it's not a bad thing to have the killer hacker just to keep your hackers safer.
Yeah.
So, plus you do have it Thracate's forward observer, so you've got that part covered. You've got hacker covered. You've got engineer covered. I don't think you have a doctor. You don't have doctor or paramedic covered, but yeah.
No, Makion's a doctor.
Oh, Mackie. Okay, thank you.
It's in his profile. The other thing I should point out is that, old Cilia used to have a killing device, a killer hacking device, which is great for moving her around the table because you could put all of her stuff into like the camo, Supremacy state. That's gone from her now. Like she's just got that Evo hacker and, I mean, a nasty-ish Trinity kind of. But every time I've seen her on the board, right, my opponent has a nightmare time trying to move her around because you don't want her bots to go down, you don't want her to go down, and trying to accomplish both at the same time is just freaking difficult. I think you're better off with the Thyros killer hacker. He's already up in the field. You can put him in a marker state. He can go kill things. I could see the reason maybe for having her as the Evo hacker for the Ectomoi, but
that was my
if you want to do that, find a way to just get a pro bot in there. Honestly, if you really, really need the pitches, start your first turn with Pandora, like shooting some out next to the Salute. Yeah.
What was the second list?
The second list was my ankle. As you can guess, this is a Achilles-based list. So Josh has in his first group Achilles, the like version 1, so mimetism -6 version, who has a Spitfire pulsar, and is armor 4 instead of 5, I think. Armor 4 instead of 6. Armor 4 instead of 6. The main difference between the two, well, there's 2 things. There's one, the heavy armor one has forward deployment, but the heavy armor one also has frenzy. So it will lose its cover bonus if it kills something. You've then got what you need to do when you're playing Steel Phalanx and you want to include Achilles, which is you have 2 flash pulse spots and 2 net rods. You then have Machion, Phoenix, 2 chain rifle myrmidons, and a Machi forward observer. In group 2, which only has 4 orders, you have a forward observer bot, a Gima marksman with a missile launcher, a Thracatai forward observer, and a Warcore 360 visor. So, what's interesting about this list is that Achilles isn't the lieutenant, and I can understand why. The idea, I'm guessing, is to sort of have Achilles as a giant man-shaped missile going towards other people's lieutenants, which is pretty good at. However, I've changed the list a little bit to include Achilles version 2, so the heavy armor version. Still got those 2 flash pulse spots in group 1. Still got the 2 net rods in group 1. Still have Machion Phoenix and 2 myrmidons with chain rifles. However, I've changed the Machi forward observer for that Thrasymedes infiltration, who I think is just as survivable, right? Because they're only one they're only 1 wound models anyway. Right, but he has infiltration. So if you're playing supply raid, and you're going first, you can put him directly next to a box prone, and the very first thing he can do with a single order is turn on a box. You do lose the NCO that Mackie would have had, but as we'll see later, you've got another Mackie you can use it on. In Group 2, you've got a Mackie missile launcher, a Thrakitai paramedic, a Thrakitai forward observer, a basic Thrakitai, and a Warcore 360 360 degree visor. So the reason for the changes is that if you are going to take Achilles and he's not going to be your lieutenant, I'm guessing you want to use it in Decapitation. Decapitation has, if I remember correctly, 16-inch deployment.
Yes.
Which means Achilles starts 20 inches up the table. He's a 6'4" heavy infantry with mimetism and an AP Spitfire. There's not a lot and BS 15, Whip 15. There's not a lot that's going to stop him. So that extra 4 inches up the table is huge. I mean, it's what? That's then...
He's 4 inches from the middle line.
Yeah, which means he's 3 orders from being well inside your enemy's DZ, if he wants to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I've taken him. You do have to be careful when he frenzies, but the best way to do that is generally save an order to put him on hidden somewhere and suppressive for the next turn. You do get a little bit more order efficiency then, because he becomes impetuous and you get an extra order with him. But honestly, so long as he gets into your enemy's deployment, kills a lieutenant, goes on suppressive, and stands there giving your enemy the deuces, he's done his job. I can't really fault having, the flash roll spots and the net rods. You need them. You need the points. You've then got Machion Phoenix and the 2 Myrmidon chain rifles. Again, that's sort of if you need to do some specialist stuff, send out Machion, send out Phoenix. You got Eclipse, you got plenty of smoke grenades, so easy to move. Thrasymedes, as I mentioned before, is a Mimetism -6 infiltrating forward observer. And he's 28 points. For this BCB, having something that starts up the field in, let's say, for Supremacy in a quadrant, or a supply raid right next to a box, or even, because he's a character, looting a Sabotage, not looting a Sabotage, highly classified, give him 1 order and he's medium infantry and he'll be in your opponent's DZ. That means he can do the veteran ones that need to be in their half, as well as any of their medium infantry near HVTs. You've then just got a nice, again, ARO piece in the Mackie Thrakitai link. I could see, if you wanted to, swapping the 2 4-man teams around if, like, you think that you might need to move the Thrakitai forward, paramedic forward observer out to do things. But at the same time, Machion could at least do the paramedic stuff. You're really only missing here. I mean, look, it's lucky that in high classified you get to deal out the objectives first. So if you get lucky and it's all heavy infantry, medium infantry, veteran stuff, and you don't need a hacker, you can pick this list. But this is more for your fighting, your supremacies, your decap.
Nice.
What do you reckon?
I think we're halfway done.
It's a lot.
But hopefully some of mine are a little bit more subtle and might not take quite as long. So
it's all about big changes, big sweeping changes that no one
okay.
can quite figure out.
So first up, we have Luke with his Bakudin. First list, Group 1 is a moderator core with a moderator lieutenant, moderator decoy, a moderator paramedic, a moderator pitcher, and a Riot Girl missile launcher. He's then got Brand Castro and a Haris of Mother Agatha, Cenobite HRL, and a Reverend Custody Hacker Device Plus. Rounding that group, we've got a Chimera with 3 Pupniks. Group 2 has a Morlock, a TR bot, Denma, a Zero Killer Hacker, and a Missile bot. So this is one of his new lists that he's been working on. He wanted it for the missions that are looking at anti-material weapons or games where he really wants to keep that forward pressure on and wants to be able to do surgical strikes. Kind of like some of his other lists, the core provides that hard ARO, like some of the ones you had where it's only MSV1, but MSV1 means that they're AROing through smoke unopposed or without.
It's that sort of
you can't hide it behind smoke.
warband check. Yeah.
The Haris is able to set up a nice hacking net as it advances to the board. Group 2 he has for button pushing and for his own smoke. Considerations he noted, not sure about Bran, possibly looking to go maybe an engineer or a meteor zond instead. And the main concerns he had with this list were going up against tags or just straight up superior gunfighters. Because like Riot Girl in an unpure core is good, but there are better.
Invincible.
Yeah.
That 3 armor can really hurt her.
Yes. Yeah, that second wound is almost part of her armor.
Yeah.
So I did 2 pimpings of this list. One that was conservative, and then one that went. Go back up one. I rearranged the order.
Oh.
Okay. So now you just have to click once each. So for the more conservative, because I know Luke's lists are really finely tuned, and so want to do one that is keeping more with that finely tuned, and then one that takes care of something I don't necessarily like in the list. So the more conservative, I agree, dropping Bran, popped in Fiddler FTO in her place with his Zonbot. That means that now he's got drop bearers for his deployment zone. Fiddler also has the movement that allows her to redeploy and put the decharges wherever it's needed. So if one flank starts to collapse, you can go up there, reinforce it. Additionally, this now gives that engineer with a PALBot to help the TR bot, and he can use the TR bot more liberally without the fear that the first time it takes a wound, it's gone for the game.
I remember.
I'm not. Sorry.
I remember playing one of the Henry brothers, and he had a TR bot that just would not quit. I think he resurrected it. Every turn he resurrected the damn thing because I could not do more than one wound to it.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm not sold on is the Vertigo Zond, and I think that might partly just be a player preference. I can see Nomads are a bit more. Nomad players tend to be a bit more confident with having that in there, not as a crutch, but as a. They want to have a reason not to take it rather than a reason to take it.
Yeah.
And because he's only got one model in his entire list that can apply targeted, and it's part of the forward-moving Haris, I'm a little concerned that missile bot might not have many opportunities to even have targeted put on enemy models.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Bakunin is that there are Nomads faction, but as far as like hacking goes, they've got good whip on their hackers. um,
Mhm.
and they've got some good programs. But other than sort of having, I guess, the kind of like the weirdness of the stigmata,
Mhm.
and honestly, I think that's about it. They don't have a lot of hacking net. Like they don't have a huge amount of pictures.
Mhm.
Um, I think they've only got. I mean, you've seen I think 2 out of the 3 profiles there
Mhm.
that have pictures. The other one being
Mhm.
Uhahu. Um, uh, and they don't have like high BTS or anything like that or
Mhm.
special programs. So yeah, it can feel like you play no you're playing a nomad faction and you're like, okay, cool, I can like really push into hacking, and then you play Bakun and you're like, I don't quite have the tools I need to be like super good at hacking.
Mhm.
I would almost say if you can find, I'd almost say that like if you're unsure about the Vertigazon,
Mhm.
maybe make the Reverend Custodia a killer hacker.
Oh, well, in that case, flip to the next one, and I'll go through
Oh, there we go.
what I did when I wanted to do a bit more
Oh,
to
I've
his
got. Oh,
curated
sorry,
list.
hold on. Have I gone too far?
Yep. Oh,
Oh, there we go.
yes,
Sorry,
that's the
my
one.
bad.
Okay. Sorry. So in this case, dropped Bran, dropped the Morlock, dropped the Vertical Zond, and dropped one of the Pupniks. The zero KHD becomes a zero forward observer, and that allows Group 2 to gain Fiddler FTO with the Zonbot, a flat spot, and a second Chimera with 2 Pupniks. Uh, so this, you still get Fiddler to help with everything she did in the first version of the list. But now you have, instead of the missile bot that may or may not get work done, you've got a second set of Chimera and Pupniks that can then help to support the other the Heris, so that they're not quite out there alone. It also gives you them as disposable. They've got DA CCWs to go up there and deal with the AC2s or the tech coffins. The Forward Observer Zero uh, now can take advantage of the Forward Observer bonus in the mission. It also spreads out a little bit more for what classifieds they can cover. Although, given you've got a hacking device plus in there, there's not a whole lot that the hacking device plus can't do that the Forward Observer can.
Yeah.
On top of that, I made it a 9-6 split because Group 2 is a little heavy with stuff that you might want to do more with. But by having this 9-6 split, then you can pick 2 things in Group 2 that you really need to do work and move 1 to Group 1.
Yeah.
That,
The good thing about doing those splits, especially because you got Denma the Zero and a
mm,
Chimera there, is inevitably one of them will get stuck, like with like a hard A array looking
yeah.
like straight at them. And you're like, okay, well I can't move them. I'll spend my orders on the other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the only thing you could do, and this is
Mhm.
really just pistol perfect, that this kind of like goes against kind of um what the list is if you like change the chimera or whatever into moderator, another transductor or something like that, you could
Mhm.
buff up Fiddler to have one of her jackbots, which are always fucking annoying.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I considered that. I just couldn't quite justify going with the jackbots by points. The list is pretty tight on points already. I could definitely see an argument for getting the jackbots in there. Um,
yeah,
I couldn't make it work that I was happy with.
yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you're a real surgeon with chimeras, which fair's fair, it's not hugely difficult to do. um yeah, you could. This I'd almost feel is a great going second list where like you're playing Supremacy or something like that, you wait, pull back, and then suddenly you unleash your pupniks on the poor unexpecting soldiers of your other team, of your opponent's team.
Yeah. So his second list.
God.
So this is one that he has run. He's been running this the last couple tournaments, and he's been updating it slowly, or just making fine tweaks. I had the opportunity to play against it at least once, and it is a highly tuned list. It works well, and Luke pilots it very well. Basically, needs to be able to cover the matchups that list one doesn't want. He wants it to make sure it can cover the classified heavy missions or the heavy gunfights that list one can't cover.
Yeah.
The list itself in group one, we've got a set of core +1 with a Reverend Custode Killer Hacker, Mother Agatha, a Reverend Moya HMG, a Reverend Moya Multi-Sniper, a Cenobite with a Chain Rifle +1 Burst, and a Cenobite Light Shotgun. So this, the way he runs it, starts off as a core with all of them, and I believe he usually leaves one of the Cenobites out. But then once the multi-sniper goes down, or it's ready to advance, he'll split it up, and the multi-sniper can either stay back or stay dead, and then he's still got a full core to move up, and it's led still with a HMG and a Vulcan shotgun. The rest of Group 1 is a Flashbot, Denma, and a Morlock. Group 2 is a Riot Girl Moderator Haris of a Riot Girl Missile Launcher, a Moderator Lieutenant, and a Moderator Paramedic. This typically is a way to bunker up his lieutenant. The paramedic's there to make sure that the Riot Girl has one more chance to stand back up. On top of that, in Group 2, he's got Zoe and Pywell, a War Core, and a Chimera with 2 Pupniks.
So an important thing about Zoe and Pywell, just for anyone who doesn't know, is that she's both an engineer and a hacker.
Oh, yes.
With the unique hacking program, Zero Pain, which does nothing to your opponent except for cancel their ability.
It's
and apply.
It's basically a really nice dodge against hacking, so it's not a reset.
Yeah, it's just a better reset, really.
Yeah, so that's a good point with Zoe Pywell to remember. Yes, she is both a hacker and a engineer, which gives her a very broad ability to pick up classifieds. On top of that, she just has decharges, so.
But she's an engineer.
Yeah. On top of that, she's a veteran, or she's a character, so she's a veteran classification. Lot of stuff she could do. And very good for the classified heavy missions.
I think even Pywell as a synced, he has the Neg 6 mimetism.
I'd have to look that up.
I'll take a look.
Okay.
Neg 6 mimetism, +1 burst with BS attack. Yeah, he's gross.
Yeah, so he can shoot up. He can double shot pitchers.
Oh, sorry. No, I was looking at the. Oh, no, yeah, it's the right one. Yeah, anyway, go
on. Update for this one. As I said, it's a finely tuned list. I don't really think it needs much. But if you absolutely told me I had to make a change to it.
Which we did, because it's a Pimp My List episode.
Yes, which I did. So I dropped the Flashbot for a second Morlock and added a third Pupnik.
Wait, what? Third Pupnik. I thought you were saying a third Chimera. I was like,
no, third Pupnik. No, third Pupnik. So in this case, it adds a little bit more smoke. The Flashbot, he's not hurting on. He's doing okay with command tokens and irregular orders. So I felt the an extra Morlock in there then gives him a little bit more ability to separate front versus backfield. And the third Pupnik, because it's a point. If you can find that last point, it's one of the things that if I look at a Bakuni list and go, they've only got 2 Pupniks, I should either be really scared of this list or they don't know what they're doing. So again, it's a gorgeous list. He runs it very well, and I don't think there's much I could do with it that wouldn't just side grade it.
The only thing that it's really down to personal choice. I can understand, like, from what you said, dealing with the HMG with the Reverend Moira.
Mhm.
I do like having the Cenobite HRL instead.
Mhm.
A little bit cheaper. You've got obviously the 2 wounds,
Mhm.
and you don't actually have any extra armor.
Yeah.
A bit more combat oriented.
Mhm.
Like, it's slightly worse shot. But it's, you're only burst 2, burst 3, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
The sniper, it's like Mimetism -6 sniper and a pure core is just gross.
Yeah.
I suppose the only thing I'd say for these lists
Mhm.
is that it's all right. The Kunin have a hard time defending their lieutenants at the best of time. I mean,
I I think he mostly defends his lieutenant, at least with this list, by just deploying it well.
it's one of those things where, especially for Bakunin, well, it's really for anybody, is that
Mhm.
if someone wants to fire a missile at your lieutenant, they will, and there's nothing you can do about it
Yeah.
in the current state of the game.
Mhm.
So worrying about it too much is it's pointless.
Yeah.
But he's done the right thing here, where I tried once to have the Reverend Custodia as my lieutenant, and the only
Mhm.
problem is someone just has to stage dive a killer hacker and you're screwed.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
A hacking lieutenant is risky, and you have to have a plan to make sure that it doesn't go down to a Trinity.
Yeah,
Or an
or just make
Oblivion.
sure. Yeah, or just make sure it's fucking anathematics. Like, it's the changes you made, like, honestly just make sense. More smoke. The other good thing about having extra Morlock is you get another chance to roll well on that metachemistry table
Yes.
to get something that you're really looking for.
Yeah.
The
It's a little bit of a gamble. The Flashbot is a very, like, you know exactly what you're getting. They don't have a, their hacking game supports itself well enough without it, especially with Pywell there.
Yeah.
And that it's the cost of the regular versus irregular order, but that gamble of, like, what am I going to get on the metachemistry table? And now, yeah, like you said, you've got 2 Morlocks, 2 chances on it, and I think the list can do with a gamble, but again, that's really personal preference at that point.
Yeah. All right, let's push on to
Okay.
who we have next.
Next we have Kevin. So, uh, apologies. So, first list, he wants to run a Bakhtar parachutist because she just grinds objectives and destroys boxes and does so much. Wants to run this list for highly classified, looting, sabotage, and supremacy. Group 1 of the list is an Azrael Foyabach +1 burst, Dejansvan HMG, a Gulam Doctor with Nazmat, a Gulam Decoy, a Gulam Lieutenant, a Barid Killer Hacker, a Bakhtar Parachutist Paramedic Boarding Shotgun, which also has D charges, a Fide DA with shock mines, 2 Mutts with boarding shotgun and jammer. Group 2, he has a flashbot, a Huawei hacker, a Rafik, so a toolbot box, Zulekia, and a Liberto mine layer.
Zulekia is one of the female Coombs, right?
I'm
Coomb
sorry?
riders.
Zulekia, she
Zulekia's-
is the explosive close combat weapon, +1 burst, but does not have berserk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm having to look all these up because I'm so used to Hackers Alarm 6 tutorials. I'm like, oh god, what's the basic ones called?
Oh, Cube Riders.
Oh no, just like what units in basic Hackers Alarm? What are they called? What do they do?
Oh yeah. So with this one,
Okay.
I wasn't like there was some changes I want to make, and I wasn't quite sure where to start. So I basically just scrapped the list, put in what he wanted, like as the core things, and then filled it around it, and ended up getting closer back to what his list was than I thought I would. So in group one, I dropped both Ghulams and replaced them with a Hap's Lieutenant. I dropped the Fide. I think it's okay to run some vanilla Hawk without a Fide, but again, personal preference. The Huawei hacker I changed to a Farzan forward observer. The Rafik, so the toolbox bot, I changed to a guided missile bot, and then added a Camille TR bot, so the total reaction baggage bot.
Oh, okay.
So one issue that I've had playing with the Bukhtar is it is amazing, but it is very susceptible to hacking nets, given that it is heavy infantry, not stealth, and BTS 3. So if that was his priority, he really wants to play the Bukhtar paramedic. I wanted to increase the
like sort of clear out the hackers before.
I forgot something in my notes here. Anyway, I'll go over. So let me go through the list because I apparently forgot something in my update notes. Anyhow, group one is the Azrael Feuerbach +1 burst, Janspan heavy machine gun, Gulam Doctor with Nazmat, Haf's Lieutenant, a Berid hacker, a Berid killer hacker, the Bukhtar paramedic parachutists, and then 2 butts with boarding shotguns and jammers. Group 2 is a flashbot, Farzan forward observer, a guided missile bot, Zulikia, Liberto mine layer, and the TR baggage bot. So, with providing the 2 Berids in there, that gives a bit more projection with the pitchers, and from that, then you don't have a bubble around your killer hacker that's threatened. You have a bubble around both your hackers that the killer hacker threatens. That should make it give him more tools to establish enough hacking dominance that he can clear a safe landing spot on the side of the board for the Bukhtar, and potentially even just knock out enough of their hackers to make it safe for the Bukhtar to come in and rampage through. I added the TR baggage bot as well because for looting Sabotage, it makes a really nice defensive piece. Plop that near your AC2. It is different because it's Hawk. It's different than the usual TR baggage bots in that it is a rifle light shotgun TR.
Oh, right.
So that ability to drop 2 shotgun templates in arrow at anything that starts to come close to the objective. On top of that, 2 mutts with jammers. That's going to be a tough objective to push something through. In addition, it's baggage bot, so Supremacy, it's an easy 20 more points into zones. One of his thoughts that he had with the Bukhtar, that's 53 points. It's a really easy thing to put into a zone and dominate with. And so pair that with the TR baggage bot. TR baggage bot is 38 points in a zone.
Yeah, the baggage bot is one of those things, especially depending on like how the map's laid out, you put it into whatever zone you want, like one near you, and you're like, I got 30. In this case, I got 38 points of this zone, relatively well defended because the shotgun rifle combination.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about this zone where like my opponent's weak for the rest of the game because it's a ton of points in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the expensive parachutists are just fucking worst.
Yeah.
You just like all of a sudden I control this point. You're like, well, couldn't have done anything about that.
Yeah, with the Farzan, I'd initially changed the Alhawawa hacker to a forward observer. I had one more point left over, and at that point, the Farzan forward observer is one more point than the Alhawawa forward observer. It keeps the decharges, but it picks up shock mines. It's one more ballistic skill, and it picks up BS attack shock. So overall, as a forward observer, that's a lot for 1 point. Yeah, so I think happy with that list. Was able to keep in like the big guns that he wanted and rearrange the support. Plus, giving that he's got enough hacking projection to make that missile launcher be a valid threat. So.
What is it? Rifle light shotgun. So I'm just taking a look at the Nadir doesn't have the infiltration. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. On to list 2 for Kevin. So he wants to run a double Fide list to stop opponents from doing objectives and also for just being a nightmare in Decapitation.
Yep.
Kind of wants to try to keep broad mission coverage for the rest of the list. He's got a Hakim in there, which is awesome. I love Hakims. For kind of flexible doctoring and objectives, it allows him to bring on a specialist later in the game, but at the same time, he can toss the Nazmat wherever he wants to doctor where it needed without having to deploy them in the same place.
So they can drop wherever, like separately.
It's a peripheral servant. So it has no range. They both have parachutists. They can pop up on different board edges.
Yes.
So wants to run this in decap, and when I looked at his 2 lists, I wasn't quite sure which he was intending to run for supply raid. So I modified this one to make sure it could handle supply raid some. So group 1 in his list was a Jansman heavy machine gun, Nalf, a Gulam decoy, a Barid killer hacker, Alhawa hacker, Al-Jabel, Hakim submachine gun with Nazmat, Zulekia, and a Liberto mine layer. Group 2 in his initial list was a Gulam lieutenant, a Fanus flashbot, a Fide with DA CCW but no mines, a TR bot, a Monstrucker with submachine gun drop bears and a Nazmat, and a Hunsakat forward observer with boarding shotgun and decharges. So group 1 dropped the Gulam decoy and changed the Alhawa hacker to a forward observer. And now that I am looking at this, that Alhawa forward observer should be a Farzan forward observer because there's a spare point, and I did this list first.
No.
Yeah. Group 2, I changed the Monstrucker to Fiddler FTO. Changed the Flashbot to a War Core. The Fide gets mines, and then I changed the Gulam Lieutenant to a Naftum Lieutenant. This can help give it better supply raid coverage, partly because, I guess, start with the Lieutenant. If this is intended to be run in decap, there's no point in decoy. And if it's intended to be run in supply raid, the mission is so order intensive to start with that I'm quite comfortable not running a decoy, because that's a lot of orders that the opponent is likely going to have to spend to get and hunt down your lieutenant.
You put that single non-decoyed lieutenant in somewhere difficult, and even if they do manage to put you in loss of lieutenant, it's generally so order intensive that your opponent gets no advantage out of having done that.
The Gulan lieutenant became a Naftam lieutenant. Just there was a point left over, and in my opinion, Naftam lieutenants are slightly more survivable than Gulan lieutenants. They lose their light shotgun for light flamethrower and grenades, but they also pick up 1 more point of fizz for dodging, and they pick up 3 points of BTS. Not terribly useful all the time, but if someone for some reason tries to jammer your lieutenant, you've got BTS. From there, Fiddler still covers the engineer, still covers having a Nazmat for the TR bot, but she provides similar to I think Luke's first list that I went over, provides that secondary wave into supply raid, where she can go in and flip a button that needs to be, but she could also scoot very quickly, redeploy, and decharge something quite a ways away from where she started the turn.
Just quickly, I just want to go and take a look at his initial list. Okay.
Yeah. So gets to keep his double Fide, and the main guns that he wanted, and a little bit of mixing matching to get the Monster up to Fiddler, and I think only issue I'm seeing is that I didn't spend the last point to make the Al Hawa forward observer a Farzan forward observer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. No, I mean, if I wasn't running Bakuna, if I wasn't determined to sort of give my playing of Bakuna a last hurrah, I'd be playing, admittedly, assassins, but I'd be making a list exactly like this. Just two Fides, Al Jabal, deal with it. Okay, so who did you have lucky last?
And lucky last, Donovan. So one of our newer players running vanilla combined.
How many tips has he gotten from Jordan? Is he gross at
I don't know, but one of his lists definitely I was inspired by one of Jordan's lists. So he can only make it there on Saturday, so the lists only need to cover supply raid, highly classified, and decapitation. List one,
beat everybody, ruin the entire all the rankings, and just be like, peace, I'm out.
Yeah. So list one, he wants to run an avatar list for decap and supply raid, and so thought about definitely decap. How could I build an avatar list for supply raid? So that was a fun challenge. His initial list, group 1, is Avatar, Caliban Forward Observer, Motorized Bounty Hunter, 2 Icadron baggage, Dr. Worm with a Slave Bot, Imatron, and a Liberto Mine Layer. Group 2 is a Forward Observer Bot, a TR Bot, a Unidron, a Gaki, and a Dartok. So I cleaned up group 1 a bit and then kind of threw group 2 out and built a new group 2. So the new list is group 1 being Avatar, Dr. Worm, 2 Icadrons, 2 Imatrons, Liberto Mine Layer, and a Shrouded Forward Observer. Group 2 is a Caliban Forward Observer, Bit and Kiss, 2 R drones, so 2 flashbots, and then 2 Daughter Razi. So, goal here, Group 1 now has Caliban went to Group 2 with the Shrouded. Now there's a forward deploying or infiltrating forward observer in camo marker state in both groups. So that allows 2 different vectors, and you can use both command pools to go up and forward observe bonus to flip buttons on.
It just pegged with me what you've done there. That's gross.
Oh, thank you. Group 2, basically, I switched the Dartok for Bit and Kiss. They're a little bit more reliable to get the pictures out there, and they provide better, I think, a little better hacking coverage. Plus, a random adhesive launcher is always fun when they're not expecting it from the little helper bot. The main difference was the 2 Dotterasi. And for this, it's now giving smoke to the list. And it's also providing more anti-material close combat weapons to close out and destroy any of the boxes that the opponent's pushed. So it provides more midfield button pushers, more anti-material CCWs, and I think the balance is better there as well.
Yeah.
I dropped the slave bot off of Dr. Worm because you no longer have the remotes that need the repairs, and the avatar, if you're going to be repairing it, you're going to have to get the slave bot to it anyways because the avatar will move. And then Dr. Worm now provides more a mobile, highly mobile specialist with decharges. So similar to what Fiddler was doing in the other 2 lists. Providing that 6-4 movement decharges specialist who can rapidly get out there and redeploy to whichever tech coffin needs to be looked at.
The only thing, like, I agree with you getting rid of the slave drone, is, and again, I see what you're doing, especially for supply raid. Shrouded and Caliban is just fucking gross. Because like, have you ever seen someone get all 6 things activated in their first turn? Well, this list definitely could do that. Is potentially, depending on, like, more for decap, I suppose, is that Caliban could be made into an engineer.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is I've seen it done to good effect. Is the avatar pushes up to sort of where the Caliban is, end your turn and some sort of suppressive or whatever, near impossible to take out the damn thing. And if it takes any wounds, the first thing you can do with that Caliban is activate it and go and heal that avatar up to like full health, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's that. And I suppose if you do that, then you've got a potential for moving the points of the Dr. Worm to. I don't know. I haven't had enough time to look at it.
I can see the argument for that. I think I like the forward observer better because it's also covering supply raid. And the army,
for sure.
The list
I get
doesn't
what you're doing.
have too many specialists that go push buttons. So having some key ones that are already up there that are going to get the forward observer bonus to get those buttons flipped quickly and in your favor, to me, takes precedence over the engineer Caliban, especially with Dr. Worm still being in there for the engineer.
I just took a look at what can actually do engineer, and it's just those 2. The other thing is that Dr. Worm
engineers in combined are a little bit rare.
Yeah. The other thing is Dr. Worm is fast as hell. He's 6'4".
6'4". So, oh yeah. He gets
other than
places
being a
people
little
don't
fat.
expect him.
Yeah. The good old days where he used to have a 21-point profile because they gave him an SMG. Yeah, no, that's Oh man, that Caliban shrouded.
Mm.
That's so mean.
Yep.
That's so mean.
Yeah, because then like Caliban has the D charges up there, but then Shrouded also puts shock mines available midfield. So you can
You
do stuff like
could,
you can flip a button, drop a shock mine, and then recamo.
if you could find 1 point. Oh, you've got 1 point. You could
Yep.
drop the Caliban to be another shrouded forward observer and
Mhm.
make the Dr. Worm Caliban engineer.
Potentially.
Sorry, this is not
Yeah.
this is not
Yeah.
a time for us to theory craft
Mhm.
the list.
Nah. All good.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and I think the Datarazis are important
Yes.
because
Yeah.
as strong as the Avatar is, if you have like an MSV2 snipe, like missile launcher or sniper sitting at the other far thing, looking at the only place you could have ever possibly put your Avatar, you're going to need something to get it out of there. Obviously, MSV2 is not going to be blocked by smoke, but you get the
Well,
idea.
no, but the Dadarazi provides you the warbands to screen the avatar or go unpick whatever the avatar doesn't want to look at.
Yeah.
Okay, list number 2. So running a corrupted list and just going by process of elimination. If the other one is doing those 2 missions, I'm assuming this one's going for highly classified. One moment. Right. So this one, Group 1, he's got a Caronted Lieutenant MSV2 HMG with its pet Dadarazi for smoke. He's got a...
MSV3.
Hmm?
The
Oh,
Coruntage MSV3.
MSV3, yes, okay. Uh, he's got an M drone, so a forward observer bot, a T drone, so a missile launcher bot, a motorized bounty hunter, a Tyrock mine layer, a
Ooh.
Liberto mine layer, a shrouded forward observer, and then in Group 2, he's got a Caliban forward observer, 2 Icadrons, a Speculo killer, a Dartok, an Oznet FTO with smoke grenades, and a Gaki. So the first thing that popped to mind when I saw this was I'm not sure what's going on with the Oznet and the Gaki. I want to make sure that he realized that that is not a valid fire team uh, in vanilla. It's only valid in Morats. That said,
Oh yeah.
to go on to what I did. So the revised list, Group 1 still has the Caronted, the Dadarazi, and the Liberto. It then picks up Bit and Kiss, Dr. Worm with a slave drone, a TR bot, and keeps one of the Ictrons. Group 2 has Sheshkin, a Caliban
Oh,
forward observer, 2 flash bots, 2 Imitrons, and because he did have the impersonator in the first one, I did have to drop it down to a Greif operator for the impersonator. However, that also now means that the impersonator has decharges. So if he gets the decharge in your opponent's deployment zone or on their side of the board, he can just ding, it's done. So
always my favorite thing is when technically the Greif operator just suicide and just poof on their feet.
yeah, like it's not quite the Speculo killer, but it's also MSV1. So now you've got
Yeah.
an MSV up in the midfield, or not midfield, on their side. So if you have to say use an MSV on a HVT, it should be. I think it'll be better for highly classified than the Speculo was.
Yeah, because I mean, it means that if you get sabotage in any which way for highly classified,
Yeah.
it's first order, boom, I've got
Yep.
a card. If it's just secondary, that's awesome. That's 3
Mhm.
objective points.
Yep.
Yeah, no, the and that MSV. I mean, other thing is you hold it in reserve. Wait, like if you're going first, Or if you're in second, then you just put it down. You just go, oh, where's your HVT? Right there. Boom.
Yep.
Right. I've put my dude with a visor right on there, and I'll just look at you when it's my turn.
Yeah. So with this, kind of what just like he's already got a Caronted MSV3 with smoke. Let's just double down on those Apex Predators and put Sheskin in. And at this point, he's still got sufficient specialists and models that will do a broad range of highly classified. But it kind of switches the army's goal to I'm just going to kill everything and then do classifieds before I put them in retreat. And if they try to keep their heads down, then he just goes and does classifieds. If they try to resist, then he's got smoke shooting MSV3 HMG and Sheshkin. And Sheshkin's backed up by a Caliban. So he's packing plenty of Protheon in there as well. Top it up with Dr. Worms in there for doing objectives, but he's also got the slave drone in there to back up the TR bot. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can see is just to do something to get that extra order in there.
True. This might also just be personal preference. I've become very comfortable with playing 14 orders. And considering that there's a lot of scary combat drop and parachutist models in Combined Army. So having that nebulous 15th slot can be...
It can always be an Octofer.
Yeah. Oh, actually true. Not even the parachutes. The hidden deploy. Yeah, so having that Boogeyman 14 or 15th slot can be more useful than having the 15th order sometimes.
Yeah. No, totally, absolutely agree. I can't tell you. Wish I could get better at reading camo markers. I can't tell you how often you're playing CA or something and you're like, oh, I have to walk past this bloody I have to walk past this corridor. I don't have a choice. And you're like, oh, it can slow. You're right. That lack of order could grind your opponent like to a halt, and you'd be like, I just never had that unit. I don't know what you were worried about.
Yes.
And the units here are, because it's not like an avatar or something, kind of cheap enough where your opponent might like undervalue them and be like, okay, like the Cronted 65, Sheshkin 60, and he puts together in their head like, oh, there might just be enough for an Octofer to be hidden somewhere.
And plus, early on, he's still got the Caliban in camo state, which now puts more uncertainty as to the points on the table.
Yeah.
You're right. The list, it's got all these really cheap models and then some high range models. And unless you're really good at adding up the points, all those cheap models could be deceptive and make it appear that you have more available for that 15th slot than you do.
Yeah, you underestimate everything by like 3 to 5 points, and suddenly you think there's a Octofer.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a really good. I mean, I remember playing one of the Melbourne guys recently, and I spent my entire time being scared of a camo marker that he placed all up the top, and then I was like, "What was it?" He's like, "Oh, it was a mine." Right, and you could do even better here, where you have nothing, and you're still playing that mind game.
Yeah. I might want to. I'm not like if you're trying to go for more mind games, the Liberto might not be the right option. But I think with the points available, it's still the right option. It doesn't really add to the mind games much, but it serves a very nice speed bump role in this list that doesn't otherwise have much speed bump.
Yeah, look, I mean, you either have it as a Liberto or you have it as like a Tiger or something and allocate points.
And I'd much rather
elsewhere.
have it as Liberto unless I ran out of SWC.
Yeah. So you either find a place for those 2 points as like, you know, the Caliban what's it called? SMGs, but they're not SMG. Spitfire was the only one I could think to replace it. But then, you know, you can do whatever. You can do whatever you want. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, the good thing about this list is that everything can be placed where it needs to be to do what it needs to do in one order. So you're just like, oh, I need to decharge something. Greif Operator's got it. Sheshkin needs to go something. Well, she's bloody 6'4", insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is like a good high classified like slow burn where you're not going to lose your key pieces. Your opponent starts losing your key pieces, and you get, you know, you probably end up with your turn where you just get to do whatever you want for free.
Yeah. Can I scare my opponent into keeping their head down so I can do classifieds, or can I just kill them so their head is now down permanently and I can now go do classifieds?
Yeah.
Excellent.
That missing order is so much more scarier now.
Yes. Yeah.
Damn you, CA. Damn you to hell.
Well, I think that wraps it up for part 1 of this.
It does.
Yeah. I think in the future we need to just aim for these to be 2 parts. Because I think we've tried to do them before and tried to do them as one, and it takes a lot longer to discuss lists when you've got co-hosts than when you're writing up and going, here's what my preferences are, and then your co-host says, wait, but what about this? And then you have a nice discussion that is quite fruitful, but takes 3 times as long as you thought it would.
Here's a question for you though. Of the list that I pimped, which one was your favorite? Like the favorite change, one that I changed.
Oh, hang on, I have to scroll back up. One moment.
Because I think honestly that last list, actually both your CA lists were so good. No, the supply raid one. That one's so mean. If he rolls first turn, it's gonna put their opponent on such a massive back foot.
And it's an avatar. Rolling first turn is one of the best chances in the game.
Yeah, like you've got to, if like they go first and manage to get all that sort of shit done, you have to go and smash those boxes. You don't have a choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time we call this. And
I don't get a favorite pick.
Oh, sorry. I would go for one of Dante's, I think. But I'd have to actually put more thought into which one, because that was a while ago when we talked about them.
Fair enough. I probably was, I think, most happy with my first change, where like I put the Kurlak in and things like that.
Yeah.
Like put in the puppet box, remove the Zon Nordica and all that sort of thing. I feel like there's just, there was just a little bit of, the Zon Nordica is fucking great. And to be honest, it's one of those things where now I look at his 2 lists, I'm sad that I took the Zon Nordica out just because it's fun to put it on the battlefield and be like, look, my Zon Nordica.
Yeah.
It costs so much for just a little bike.
Yeah. I think I liked your Meteor Zond with the hacking nets.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite because it was a really like nicely multi-stage thought out approach to a decap problem that will come up for
Yeah,
some players, or it will come up on some tables. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tunguska really suffers in they really suffer in decap because they don't really have great close range fighters. They've got brilliant long range fighters, but
Mhm.
once they get up close, they kind of run out of options.
Mhm.
So they have to be sort of sneaky about it. I would say they're probably one of the few sectorials or just armies in the game where I'd say the missile, like guided missile sort of trick or whatever you want to call
Mhm.
it, is kind of not just a necessity, it's kind of their best trick. And it's sort
Mhm.
of reasonable to assume that they're going to do it. Whereas, other people have, some sort of infiltrator, good melee,
Mhm.
right? Something that can get up close, and Tunguska just lack a lot of that. They've got what? Roll and um, Perseus.
Well, with those, like you could expect them to be able to project hacking net with pitchers, or possibly with walking up some like flashbots or what. But it's hard to predict them dropping a sensor in your back
Yeah,
line,
exactly.
because
That was
that's a major strategy for decap is
yeah,
camo lieutenant.
yeah,
Because
and
if you can't get line of fire to them, it's very difficult to assassinate them.
yeah, and that's one of the few pieces that, especially if you can manage to get like the super jump version,
Hmm.
um, that's one of the actually have if it's a thing box doesn't it have climbing plus.
For the meteor, let's find out.
If it's a full forward observer bot, bu- bu- bu-
It's full for observer, but I think
no,
it then has the
yeah,
option.
yeah,
Yeah, it's if yeah, just
doesn't have climbing plus.
regular forward observer bot plus combat jump parachutist, and then the option to choose between combi rifle and boarding shotgun.
Yeah, but the boarding shotgun is one of those great things because they can get up so close.
Hmm.
Um, that it's worth using. At the very least, the meteors on is great for getting a shotgun in something's face and removing them from the table at the stage dive. That poor little robot.
Oh, there is one other difference with it. It's got 6 BTS over the regular Stempler.
Oh shit!
And plus 1 fizz, but that's more the combat drop thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
And
because it's
plus
six
1
four.
and plus 1 CC for all good. That'll do.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the meteor. I think you're gonna, unless you Evo bot it, you're generally just gonna parachute it as in because it's six
Oh
four.
yeah,
It's fast
yeah,
enough. It's fast enough to get to where you
yeah.
want to go. And if I had more time, I would probably try and finagle that 1 point to get the super jump because it's just so
Mhm.
useful to
Yeah.
jump up to whatever and just
Mhm.
shotgun it.
Yeah.
All
Excellent.
right, Nick. Well, that was. Oh, I love these episodes. They're so good.
Yeah, that was like I liked the 3 that I got because like Luke's was very like sectorial, very highly tailored, and
Mm.
like the ability to do any modifications without making it fall apart is tough.
Yeah,
Than 2 vanilla, where I'm not very familiar with playing in vanilla, but had fun writing both of them. So yeah, looking forward to
yeah. I
seeing if
gotta.
any of these make the table.
Yeah, I gotta. After BCB, I gotta try a couple of like friendly games of vanilla. I've lost the ability to
Mhm.
write lists for it. All right,
Well,
everybody. Thank you, Lost of Lieutenant listeners, for tuning in to this BCB 2024 Pimp My List episode. It was a good lot. It was a lot of good fun to see all you guys' list. Looking forward to seeing the people we covered, the people we didn't, at least in this episode and the next at BCB in a week and a half's time.
yeah,
But
excellent.
anyway, I've been Jacob.
I've been Nick.
Good night, everybody.